bans, and that will be exciting. But Border is up first. Mock-it's going to get first ban. Lion. Unsurprising. Lion has been banned all day by every team.
Not really surprising at all. Very powerful operator still. And I mean, again, like I touched on map number 1, you see G2 ban it out all the time, and they've been pretty successful in most of their games, you could say. The Ying as a counter ban coming out, not really surprising there, as Hungary had a lot of success with it on Oregon. Mira on Border, I mean, standard. I'm surprised there was no hard breach ban on attack, but obviously Cloud9 opting to go for that immediate counter onto Hungary. I'm a little surprised by it, honestly, because it's not like he can't play other operators. It's just that Ying that he's so proficient with.
Yeah. And Mock-it will take a while in the last ban. Mira being out, is this going to be a Maestro ban? Is this going to be a Clash ban? If I'm Mock-it, I would probably take Clash out of action. I wasn't really impressed with the way that Mock-it was running the Clash pick, but for C9, it was causing major headaches. And no, they'll actually go for Echo instead. I've heard some particular strategies around Clash on Border. I'm interested to see if any of them will come to play, but for the time being, it's going to be a Ying, Mira, Lion, and Echo free game as we head into our final map between Cloud9 and Mock-it. They are both tied at 1 piece. Neither map has really been easy for either team.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. They've both been incredibly close games, and it seemingly is about that late round adaptation and the late game adaptation on both sides, you know, and in this new format, and I guess it's not really that new anymore, but the 5-round on attack and 5-round on defense really do either see teams really pick up momentum, and you have to counter that and start playing a little differently. You have to play more dynamic and swap up what you're doing to try and throw the other side off. And I think both teams have done a pretty good job of that respectively on either side, attack or defense. They've shown that they are at least willing and capable of altering a strategy and not just sticking to one game plan and running it into the ground until they become, you know, 4 rounds deep, 5 rounds deep in the hole, and they have to try and claw back of an insurmountable task.
Yeah. All right, so Border, let's see how this works out. Now, you're going to be bringing ACOGs on Border. Jaeger is usually a given. Actually, I think the only time that we've ever seen Jaeger get banned in Pro League is on Border. That makes a lot of sense. You got those meshings over top where grenades see so much usage and prevalence, especially for a very brief period of time. At the start of this previous season, IQ was everywhere on this map with her frag grenades. You toss the frag grenades over those little windows at the top through that little meshing that you have and be able to stop anybody from possibly bandit tricking. Of course, there's no bandit, there's no mute available, so these walls are basically going to be free for the taking for the attackers. Goddess will be running the Thermite instead of the Hibana. She's shown flexibility on which hard breacher that she can take, and I think Thermite is really the smarter choice here, for sure.
Retro getting aggressive on that balcony, just trying to fire in towards Office with a rotate out of Fountain. No luck, but I mean, the wall was opened up by the defense with a shotgun. The wall in Archives facing towards that balcony, so possibility for bullets to come through, and any stray one could land on a head and afford C9 a very early pick and some well-needed momentum. I think momentum has been a big factor in both of these maps so far. It's whoever's going to continue that snowball, going to continue the ability to take that early success and run with it, has been pretty monumental in the success of the teams entirely.
Yeah. So downstairs clear, Border is going to work the same way, but a lot of teams will clear Border downstairs first, which is very, you know, smart to do, given the fact that the defensive site that is being worked on right now is upstairs. The lone bomb site that is going to be on the 2nd floor. And you can see once they have control from below, that Buck can be a pretty strong operator to have, especially with Zofia. Lots of destructibility that can be applied below the site. You can see the whole floor, though, is shot out over by Armory Wall, which is going to negate the ability for the attackers to be able to play aggressively there, as no defender is going to be playing in that area, simply because of the way that they've set up the site. You've seen that Mock-it right now is putting more stock and holding Fountain and holding over in Archives than they are really working on that Armory Wall.
Concussion nades being sent through metal detectors as Fox8 playing right up at the top of the stairs. Could go through a push for metal or try and organize a breach on the back of Fountain. Either one, they're trying to get panics out of Fountain regardless. The rotation from Fox8 starts to come in through the office doorway. Goddess going to take down panics, but Sir Boss aiming in from inside of Archives with the ACOG LMG of Maestro. We'll trade him. We'll trade Fox8 right back out. Retro taking a lot of damage in the engagement as well. 45 seconds now ticking away. Cloud9 not exactly stalling, as they do have a lot of progress into Fountain. Laxing going to be chucking a few frag grenades over the balcony. It's going to down, and Retro will finish off Sir Boss. It's the Maestro and Jaeger off the board. Plant denied taken down. More concussion nades going off from Metal Detector hitting the Legion of Revan, but not the Dock of Enemy. Thermite charge coming out. 20 seconds now ticking down for Cloud9 as they need to get in and get some plant control. Retro going to drop Enemy. Now it's down to a 2v4. It's all up to Revan. Multiple goo mines being triggered at the front of Metal Door. They need to press in for this plant. Goddess has the diffuser in hand. Another Toxic Bay being dumped into the back of Archives. As he tries to cross, Revan is cut down by Mark. It's Hungary alone with an SMG-11 in hand. 2 seconds left. And it's Retro going to finish it out onto Hungary as he tries to cross out of behind Metal half wall, and C9 going to start things off very defiantly and definitively on round number 1 on Border.
Oh, he was about to catch a nade as well, so even if that shot hadn't been there, it would have been a pretty big explosive round ender as that grenade goes off right as soon as he falls. But gotta wonder if the way that Mock-it tore up that floor and basically forced Cloud9 to try to take their plant and their strategy to Archives was the bigger problem for Mock-it. Because once C9 took Fountain and then took the wall of Archives, there was nowhere for Mock-it to go. As you saw, they had 3 bodies all playing by the locker sandwich and then the small office. You just stack up. You have no coverage whatsoever, and then you just simply peek and die, unless you manage to peek and win that gunfight, which is really not an acceptable strategy for you to be holding when you've got Cloud9 circling in on you, especially when you don't have to worry about Armory, because the defenders have already done the work of tearing Armory wall up for you. So Mock-it's own strategy looked to, for some period of time, work against them. I think Mock-it doing what a lot of teams will do by going down to the main floor to ventilation and workshop is a smart call here. We'll see what they're able to bring with them. I'm imagining it's probably going to be a pretty typical setup. They'll either castle upstairs or they'll castle off the bathroom side of things. It does look like they're going to be using panics up top,
10 seconds left.
which likely means that they're going to force Cloud9 to expend a lot of time to take Armory and take Archives, which is pretty normal. I don't see anything from Mock-it right now that looks very inventive.
No.
They've managed to take the double door leading from, the lobby and then bathroom. This is as pretty routine as it goes for Mock-it here.
Yeah, and it looks like they're preparing for Cloud9 to implement the same kind of strategy that they took last time on the attack, which is that office side push over, coming from the east side, moving west on the top floor. And I mean, on Border, you got to clear out Armory if you're going to try and attack downstairs. If you let the defenders have that kind of hatch control, it's not going to be fun trying to go in for a plant. There's no echo on the board, but the Maestro once again, if enemy can last a little bit longer. Hungary has been downed. That's the smoke very early as I talk about plant delay. It's going to get downed and drop the server hatch or come back on the site to get revived. As there's an engagement outside, or maybe a frag grenade being tossed up. I'm actually not sure how that happened, but Hungary will be revived, but he's lost his position upstairs in Armory, and now it's just up to Sir Boss playing in behind half wall to hold that.
Also got Panics up top playing in Armory with an ADS, so you've got the Castle there, who has a drop hatch available. You can see that Mock-it has opened up all those hatches, so they do have an easy escape path back to the site when they need it. And there you go, Panics is gonna drop. You got an explosive blast from the Zofia launcher, and then you see the EMP taking out the ADS in the wall, and you know that Panics isn't really gonna be able to do much to battle away from a possible pinch on him, especially with that UMP. So he heads for the hills. Good call, manages to do it without losing early on. They almost lost Hungary, as you noted. That would have been, pretty unfortunate for them to have lost early on. Great drone work, though, to determine that the Jaeger is playing on that wall in Armory. And Sir Boss is going to go for a rotate, but right into the waiting arms of Foxe, the IQ positioned as Mark was also aggressing towards that Armory wall, which basically meant that Sir Boss was done for. That's a big fragger that's gone, and it took about a minute and a half to get that done. Decent clock management so far. Not the end of the world for Mock-it.
Now the conversion to pushing towards site as Hungary will now fall. That's the smoke taken off the board and a catastrophic defender to lose as that plant delay. It's just basically up to enemy now with those evil eyes as information and possibly damage people as they try to attempt a plant. But losing now that smoke to try and repel this push, it should be an easy collapse here for Cloud9, having the 2-man advantage. A little more than 40 seconds ticking down. Lots of spray coming from Laxing in towards the deep side of Workshop, spotting out and disabling the Evil Eye temporarily. Revan with an impact grenade going to take down Mark. So at least one coming back on the side, but Fox8 trades it right back out onto Revan. Still plenty of time for Cloud9 to collapse in towards the back. It looks like they want to go for a bathroom hallway push. They've got one defender stationed inside. It's Panic's looking in through the soft wall to main lobby. He's going to grab one, grabs two onto Goddess, going for three, but he'll fail. Retro able to trade it out onto Panics, and it's all up to enemy now. Holographic LMG, Alda on the Maestro, looking in. Laxing covering from the main hallway. Ping's going to come out very late, and it's going to be Laxing cleaning it up with the C8 from long main lobby hallway. Enemy falls in Cloud9, a quick 2-0, very convincingly as well. They always look like they had the man advantage on that round and the control over 75% of the map.
Yeah, there was interesting start here. Probably the best start that we've seen from Cloud9. Probably the best 2 rounds other than maybe that stretch that they had in overtime for Oregon. But I mean, Mock-it made them work for it. This is C9 looking rejuvenated after that 5-minute break between the maps and looking to come back, and maybe they have improved. Because I know I was slagging them earlier, basically saying that, you know, I've never really been convinced with their performance on Border. Well, they're proving me wrong, which is always welcomed. And a couple things happened there. First and foremost, the trust in the teammates and the good drone work and good coordination. You notice that just the way that they were able to take Sir Boss. It was very surgical. That was nice, routine droning. Find Sir Boss. Okay, well, he's going to rotate. Either he rotates into Mark or he rotates into Fox8. You know, pick one. Both of them are going to be waiting for you. And when you're mid-sprint, yeah, Sir Boss is a great shot, but usually a little difficult. After Hungry got felled, I think you said it best. He got away with his life intact, but he lost his position above.
Yeah.
That was more crucial than him losing 50 HP and then playing at the bottom of main stairs for Laxing to find him as the buck when Laxing was inside of customs. That was also, you know, pretty important. And at that point, it was basically all over for Mock-it. Once they lost the 2, yeah, it swung in favor of Cloud9. Now, we're gonna see Mock-it go back upstairs and hope for better fortunes this time around. I want to know if they did the same setup over on the armory wall, that wonky floor destruction that they had done, because if not, if they haven't done that on armory wall, then they can play more aggressively in armory. And look at it, it does look like they're gonna go for a bit more armory focus. They're gonna have Panics inside a fountain again, but they're gonna commit a good amount of bodies to that half wall. It's where enemies playing with the ACOG. Pretty typical spot to see a Rook or a Doc playing up there.
Pretty much the same positioning, but the big swap out here is Hungry on the Clash. So we saw the Clash afford some kind of success. I mean, pick your round really on Oregon or Consulate for Mock-it to kind of have just a distraction presence. You talked about how it wasn't really working out that well for Mock-it in comparison to Cloud9, and that's 100% true. Cloud9 was definitely, specifically Laxing, rocking the Clash much more effectively. But at least Hungry can be a nuisance and a distraction and slow down Cloud9, but it looks like they have zero intention of swapping over to the armory wall just yet, ripping open trip wall into office with the buck, taking down a couple cameras, and pressing through the main lobby and hallway once again. This is identical to the way we saw it last time and almost an identical setup on Mock-it's behalf.
Yeah. So, last time around, Mock-it wasn't able to handle this type of push, though. As you said, I think quite correctly, when they went for that armory wall push, Mock-it didn't have any coverage because they had basically forced themselves off of armory. Well, one thing they've done differently already is they don't have the presence on armory, or they have more presence on armory because they haven't destroyed the entire floor, but they've also got a Clash, like you said, that can be a major deterrent. But this frag grenade could possibly get it down. It looks like Clash might actually skirt away, or gets eaten by an ADS. I'm not entirely certain, but yeah, just dancing around it. Yeah, it'll be eaten by the ADS, and they're gonna have to burn it this time. So a bit of a stall for Cloud9 as they encounter a bit more utility than I think they were anticipating, and they're gonna have to do a better job. Laxing will, though, find Sir Boss, and that's the Maestro once again being taken out, and look at this, just peeking around the shield. Laxing, goodbye so long. Panic's playing very well on the fountain, and this looks like we're gonna see Cloud9 have to change from an armory push, or towards an armory push.
We saw Mark already having some advantage in some ground covered inside of armory, but he's going to rotate out to CCTV. Fox8 will fall at the hands of Revan as Mark now pushes towards the main lobby, or main hallway, sorry. Goddess will fall now to enemy as well, so it's a 2v4 for C9. Try and recover in this round. 30 seconds to do so. Laying prone is the Doc. Mark and enemy trading shots back and forth, neither able to secure the kill. And the Clash going to rotate to Metal Detector to slow Mark down, and any one of these remaining defenders to come and peek him. Retro will fall at the armory door. It's all up to Mark at 30 HP, and Hungry will actually just pull out the machine pistol himself and do it by hand. So Mock-it get one back. Cloud9 still in the driver's seat, but clearly encountering that much utility on the Office side was not what they were anticipating.
No, it didn't look like they expected it at all. Mark had burned through most of his, 5, I guess, projectiles with the lifeline, if you want to call them that. The 2 explosives and then the 3 concussive blasts. He had burned through most of them before encountering that ADS, which was troubling Laxing, though he was able to finally get the ADS down when he tossed that second grenade in and took out the Maestro that was playing of Sir Boss, but that wasn't in the same area. He still had the Jaeger of Panics playing behind Clash, who is what he tried to nade earlier on and didn't manage to get anything with that because of the ADS being there. Once again, we are seeing another round where Clash is just such a pivotal operator, and if you can't deal with her, you lose. That's basically it. And I think she's at a pretty decent success ratio every time we've seen her on defense because, like I said, a lot of teams are keeping her ensconed and protected so that when you finally do get to her, you don't really have much. You can't really close that gap. You can't really whack away at her shield. She's in a very powerful position. I think we saw Cloud9 using her very, very well, and this has been a good look for Mock-it so far. Mind you, it's only been 1 round. You win Armory, you got to go back downstairs to Ventilation Workshop. You didn't win it last time. Mock-it's going to do basically the same lineup, except instead of a smoke, they're going to bring a Clash. So you find yourself in a position where it worked well for Hungry. Let's see what we can do this time around. Try to equalize against Cloud9.
I think one of the biggest things that'll be a detriment to Clash players, just as a whole, regardless of map or playstyle or even setup, it's going to be the verticality. If you can establish an angle where the Clash, because all these engagements we've seen so far with Clash have been face-to-face. It's always been Hungry or Laxing looking at his target, looking at his prey, calling for anyone. If you can get that verticality and Border as a perfect map to execute it on, I mean, if the Clash is going to play on site and try and be that time waster or over by Office, if you can get some verticality below with a buck that we've seen Laxing run repeatedly now, it's a perfect opportunity to isolate the Clash and make that be your primary target and get her from below instead of trying to take her head on. Because like you talked about, you can't close that gap. She's going to damage you and slow you down. If she's got a friend, it's going to be a bad time because it's a mobile mirror, just like we saw, I think it was Sir Boss last time on the Jaeger inside of Fountain, utilized the Clash from inside of Fountain to peek towards the radio desk.
Yeah, it was indeed Panics was playing there. And
oh, yeah.
One of the things that I've heard with Clash before is that you'll put an ACOG behind her, so that when you peek around the shield, you have an enormous amount of view and you can take fights at a range that I don't think a lot of people are anticipating. It's a very cheeky strat to use, but I mean, it's been successful from what I've heard in a number of scrims. So, detention opened up and Laxing will encounter a Gumine, have to pull that needle out of his foot. And I'm actually interested as to why they wouldn't bother to roll with a possible customs defense. I mean, Mira is banned. It makes holding customs a lot more difficult. Yes, absolutely. A big part of why customs became as viable as it did is Laxing is determined to find every single Gumine that has been thrown down onto the map. The one big thing with customs is that it's still a lot of times a very viable site, even without Mira. Here you can see Mark trying to use that utility of Zofia, but Clash just keeps backing up and putting himself in a position where Mark is being zoned down and cannot close that gap to try and take care of the shield. But Mark just walks right into enemy, and there you go. There's the Clash working quite effectively as we anticipated.
Another distraction, the bait to pull him in, and the kill holes to the floor for enemy to fire up through. That's the verticality, just not used in the way that I was talking about. Retro taking a lot of fire at 90 as Foxay now pushes in. He's going to be the second one to try and engage, but he's got the frag grenades. Different situation and caught by an ADS. So once again, Cloud9 try to dump all of the utility possible to get rid of this Clash. The thermite charge coming out and Laxing's going to drop enemy through the floor. Now Spray's coming through. Foxy with a wonderful shot through the fountain wall, and that leaves Hungry alone as the Clash in the corner. Revan going to trade out Laxing. Another frag grenade caught by the ADS just at the feet. Got a spraying into the back of Archives, so now Hungry pinned alone with no support. Closest teammate would be over in Armory. I believe it's Revan on the Legion, leaving Sir Boss alone on site. And it looks like C9 have established this as they try to aggress him towards the objective immediately. It's actually Revan on site, and he's going to win that engagement as a Gumine was slowing down Retro. Revan going to get another one. It's all up to Goddess now. She has to go for the vault over the balcony and head towards the front door. Revan covering it from main hallway. The door isn't even opened up. She's going to open it up herself, give away her position. Tags Revan once in the foot, dropping down a Legion Mine, and it's all but over for Goddess. She fights against 3. Multiple angles. Hungry again, finishing the round, doing it himself as that shield Clash and pulling out the machine pistol. But once again, Cloud9 dumping all that utility and just unable to remove the Clash. Removed all the friends of Clash eventually, but couldn't actually secure the kill on Hungry.
Yeah, you do an exemplary job being able to take everybody but the shield out of the fray, and then you're left with one pretty angry lady with a shield that you can't shoot at, standing, waiting, watching, and then Revan, I think he got 3 kills on that round, if I recall correctly.
3 or 4.
I think he got one of the opening kills, doing a pretty darn good job. And hey, we're looking at heading into the final round of this first split with both these teams having a pretty good performance. But bigger issue is that because Mock-it has to defend, they need to go somewhere other than Armory and Workshop because they're both locked. Once again, as I said earlier, you got customs available to you. A lot of teams don't take customs anymore because Mira's been banned, so they're going to go to Bathroom Tellers. And look at that, Hungry's going to stay on Clash. So how are we going to see these operators play on a site that typically tends to be an all-or-nothing style site, which is very suitable for the way that Mock-it has been playing? Not necessarily on border. This has been a pretty restrained defense from them. But typically the way that we see Bathroom Tellers work is either a push happens really early and everybody dies, or you wait until the final seconds and then everybody dies. There doesn't really seem to be much middle ground between them. I'm interested to know how Mock-it is going to play this. They will likely heavily fortify themselves upstairs. That's why you bring the castle with you. You've got the bandit there just for added protection. This does seem like a site that Maverick would work very well on, just as a side note, but obviously with him not being brought, you could possibly use it to sweep the bottom of the reinforcements, take out the bandit charges and or mute jammers should they be present. But we'll see. But this is exactly what I was saying. They're going to heavily fortify themselves upstairs. The moment that you lose control over top of Tellers downstairs, it's very difficult for you to come back at that point. So the defenders need to ensure that they do not lose any control up top, because that's when that whole swiftness happens. That's when it gets bad.
There's no way that wall is soft into Tellers, is it? It is. Exterior wall, Mock-it electing to not reinforce it. One thing I'm shocked by is Cloud9's operator selection. We've seen, although it wasn't ever actually seemingly utilized very well by Mock-it, we saw Revan bringing out the Capital almost exclusively whenever Laxing was blowing out the Clash. And the number of ADSs that have caught a frag grenade so far in this matchup is pretty astonishing, especially when they're being launched at a Clash. I figured maybe the other opportunity would be bringing Capital and use those asphyxiating bolts that we saw Revan doing on the other side of the board. Never really firing these asphyxiating bolts in, but as I say that, a frag grenade will find success, but onto Sir Boss the Bandit instead of Hungry the Clash. However, that is a defender that was Bandit tricking Tripwall and Office taken down. More pings coming out onto the Jaeger of Panics as he doubles back into Archives.
And Sir Boss has been such an integral part of the way that Mock-it has been succeeding today. He's broken 10 kills in both of his matches so far. They largely have been impactful frags as well. He's been doing it on both support and fragging-based operators. Laxing's going to go for 2 as he chucks another grenade down, but won't find the same success that he found the first time. That grenade will go unattended. Goddess getting a kill onto Panics means that in a 5v3, Mock-it's going to have to retreat. As you said, that wall is indeed soft. The Clash will fall off and will back up into the bathroom, but here we go. All or nothing. Mark now finishing off enemy. That's the castle down. Revan is next. That's Retro. And last woman standing is Clash. Hungry is going to try to just take out his machine pistol and do all that work for him, but it's going to be real hairy. Nice headshot onto Mark. It's a 2-round burst with just a minute to go. He's going to find a second, but there's a drone on Hungry that'll be giving his position away. He's going to have to worry about some vertical pressure as a hole opened up from above. Hungry, though, sitting just below half HP. He's got the world against him, and the moment he removes himself from the bathroom, that's when things get real dicey. He's going to have to expose his back as the ceiling above him continues to be destroyed. And, well, a couple warning shots will alert him of the attacker's positions. Expecting one above from the hatch. Like a turtle, very vertical when the shield is on her back. Hungry's going to take all but 1 damage. Time running out, and there you go. Retro finishes the deal. Hungry, a valiant effort, but only gets 2 before he's finished off. And Cloud9 will regain the lead as they switch sides and move to defense.
Nice snap there. You see Foxhead giving them the appreciation. Retro with a great shot with that L85. And C9 take the first half 3-2. They now head to the defense, like you said, and it's going to be up to Mock-it. Seeing how annoying the Clash was, I'm going to imagine that C9 are going to be bringing it out. Laxing had a lot of success with it on Oregon. Currently sporting a visual, but doesn't mean it can't be 6-pick 2. Cloud9, I mean, once again, they seem to reestablish themselves. I mean, being forced to head to either customs or bathroom teller is not the most optimal situation for Mock-it, but such is the new site rotation. Dokkaebi as well. That's another operator we've barely seen any of today, which, I mean, not surprising considering the new recoil on the SMG-12 and the fact that that's the only, I guess you could go C75, but secondary machine pistols as a whole have been nerfed pretty heavily, and those would be your only automatic choices on Dokkaebi. There's other options, like we've seen Retro running the Jackal a lot, which has kind of come back into play because you need some smokes at some point. I think the C7 is just much more preferable now compared to the SMG-12 and the phone calls that Dokkaebi brings. I'll be interested to see how that works out. Still 2 frag grenades on the board for Panics. We saw a lot of frag play from C9 and a couple successes here and there, but it wasn't really the X factor on the rounds at all. It was just another thing, and we actually saw a lot of ADSs catching frag grenades when being thrown towards clashes.
It's not strange to see teams run, you know, 2 sets of frag grenades with those 4 grenades. We saw it a lot with Sledge and Buck. Particularly Obey was doing that for a while when they had Bosco playing Sledge and you had the Buck of Maman. Worked out quite well, and then of course you had Skies on IQ for a period of time. You could really, I guess, like triple up on the amount of frag grenades you had, but then you could have more flexibility on attacking operators because you really don't need more than 2 sets of frag grenades, especially now that Finka has the frag grenades. Finka doesn't bring the utility that a lot of these teams need. As for Mock-it running the Dokkaebi, that, I mean, to be fair, we didn't see any Dokkaebi whatsoever in SK versus SSG in our first matchup of the day. Now with Mock-it running Dokkaebi, they've been using her less for fragging and more for the smokes, as you mentioned, and then the gadgets as well. That disruption that the phone calls bring is just, it's an inconvenience, but it's pretty good for letting you know exactly where the defenders are. And we saw this on Oregon in particular, when Mock-it would go for very quick rushes, they would have the Dokkaebi basically heralding the push, and you'd have the phone calls go off, and you know that you either have to be immobilized in order to deal with it, or you know, you have to just let the attackers know where you're going to be coming from. So Fox8 very briefly spotted one on the heartbeat sensor, and he's going to feed that information to Mark. He's not going to do it himself, and look at that. Still sees one there, but Laxing takes out Goddess. I don't think that was intentional, because you don't typically want to team kill your Maestro in the first 1 minute and 20 seconds. Hey, I mean, that's just me. I don't play in Pro League, though. Fox8 still seeing one outside, likely on drone duty, but reason why that bait could possibly go in, you're likely going to be vaulting into a Claymore. C4 gets tossed up. Is there a Claymore out there? No, but Hungry is, so it doesn't really matter, because Hungry had his sights trained right on Fox8, but still gets one with the C4 before he gets taken out.
Apparently you can vault back over the half wall now, Laxing demonstrating that that's a thing again. Okay. Bandit charge is still on the armory wall, going to repel enemy from breaching through the A wall, and Laxing still holding the wall quite tight on an angle. Breaking the barbed wire now, going to give away his position. Still attempting to go for the wall, and he's going to need some support from down below. Mark and Fox, they were both covering simultaneously. It's all up to Mark now, it's about 5 HP, so if Mock can clear him out, they can go for a late push on the A wall, but they just don't have the real estate or the pressure in towards site just yet. They still have to wait for Mark to come up on this flank. I believe he was headed up east stairs last scene, and that's exactly where he'll be. Enemy and Sir Boss will both take the shots, but it's enemy securing the kill. A 2v3, Retro and Laxing to try and hold this out and extend the lead. If not, things will be tied up. Concussion mines being sent through metal detector, going to detonate. Not going to disorient either Laxing or Retro as they're separated quite far on the opposite sides of the objectives. Spotting out the evil eye. Lots of sprays coming as Retro tries to battle out of the back of Archives. Going for the run out just for safety. Not going to get detected just yet. Now running out with the SMG-11, just missing the backside of Hungry as the rest of the push is coming in. More smokes. Hungry ends it as enemy will also take down Laxing off screen. And we are once again in a tie ball game, 3-3 on Border. Another close series and a close map.
Yeah, if SK-SSG was close, barring that consulate blowout from SK, this is really back and forth. So through 6 rounds, we're all tied up. Pretty good job from Mock-it there. And I mean, the team kill on the Goddess probably doesn't help at all. And Fox8 going for the run out, that was just bad timing because Hungry was vulnerable for so long. Hungry was just sitting there, waiting, possibly on drone. And then when Fox8 finally does go for the run out, it happens to be at the exact moment that Hungry is back up and also looking towards the window.
Yeah.
Unideal timing, and that's 2 unfortunate events for Cloud9 to allow Mock-it to take that round. And I mean, Mock-it capitalized and were able to punish on the small mistakes that were presented to them even though it did become very, very close. And then even then, when you saw Retro dart outside, coming a hair away from seeing the backside of the Zofia, I think Retro was more concerned with getting back in before his position was given away rather than trying to secure the kill and trying to dare the Zofia and then just losing to Hungry as he pops up and absolutely eviscerated him. So scariest thing though is that Sir Boss has not been played in a fragging role whatsoever. He's got 1 kill on this matchup. Like I said earlier, he broke double digits in both of the 2 previous maps. They haven't really needed him to get kills, so it's not the worst news for them, but if he starts heating up, that could really be the difference on what has been a very close match. That's just a wasted drone, really, more than anything. You got to expect that to be spotted. But at least they're going to know. It's pretty typical to understand that there's going to be a Valkyrie camera somewhere in CCTV. Now they pretty much have a guarantee at this point.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Evil is going in the same spot, and actually before Goddess got TK'd by Laxing, she was down to about 20 HP in about 5 seconds of the round, maybe 10 seconds in. She was down to about 20 HP, so I don't know if it was a failed reset or just the most unfortunate shot in the world. But hopefully she doesn't overexpose herself to take that much damage again. It was an unfortunate position because we talked about those anchors and how the anchor play for C9 has been a question mark for a lot of these rounds. And losing 80% of your health on one of your best anchors 10 seconds in is not the way you want to start a round, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Yeah, you lose one, then you lose another. Foxay was doing an excellent job trying to get those kills. He fed the information to Mark and then jumped out the window. Those were both hugely important, but I mean, like you said, especially Maestro, a crucial operator, when you've got those Evil Eyes now immobilized, not great. Round number 7, 1 minute in. And Mock-it bringing the same tools that we saw last time around, except there's going to be this Glaz that could possibly wreak havoc. We'll see what he's capable of. Hungry right through the barricade. A vac shot onto Foxay as it looked like the Valkyrie was possibly just trying to rotate out of servers downstairs through the workshop. Not great, and once again, this luck for C9 has just been very poor over the last 2 rounds.
The Glaz as well as Revan gonna be instrumental. Lots of shots being taken, but Laxing gonna turn and drop Hungry. So wonderful shots back and forth involving Hungry. Unfortunately, he's on the receiving end of this one. So it's down to a 4v4. They lose the Zofia, who's playing on the radio window. Mark peeks up for just a second from behind half wall, and now inside of Blocker Sandwich is the dock of Laxing. Flashbangs coming in to clear out all the ADSs. The press up and a peek by Mark grabs one onto enemy. A second one from Mark onto Revan. Down to a 4v2. The frag grenade in hand being cooked by Panic's going to be launched in. Caught by another ADS, presumably not going to detonate. And the dock of Laxing also in support on the peaks constantly from the right side of the lockers. It is not looking great for Mock-it. 50 seconds ticking down, and there's no real movement here. Laxing and Retro are going to round it out, and Cloud9 take the lead once again on the back of a wonderful play by Mark in behind half wall, and the ADS is saving his life multiple times.
The inability for Mock-it to clear out Laxing playing in lockers by Sandwich, the inability for them to clear out Mark playing by half wall, both of those things.
Yep.
You've got your tools at your disposal. You use your Dokkaebi phone calls, you can't burn the ADS. All right, but you got Hungry, who died earlier on, repelled up on Locker Sandwich, trying to take the engagement with the dock. Well, what burns ADS is better than the 5 projectiles that you see that come from a lifeline, but they don't really have that at their disposal because the utility died on repel as you were trying to secure a frag by small office, by Locker Sandwich, by the bomb, wherever Hungry was particularly looking, maybe just even applying some pressure towards the back end of the site to try and maybe move the Cloud9 defenders. But unfortunately for them, if you have Hungry rotated, have somebody else die on Locker Sandwich, and you have Hungry playing by Armory Wall, you can burn those ADSs. That frag grenade hits, you can push a bit more freely, knowing that there's going to be the dock playing at that Locker Sandwich. And I mean, you had an L85 as well as Glaz's rifle, both trying to work away at the dock, unsuccessfully taking care of Laxing. And not only do you not kill Laxing, but then he's also able to get a kill himself while fighting under that amount of gunfire. That's pretty good. Now, downstairs to ventilation workshop for Cloud9, who are hoping to go on to match point here, knowing the way that these 2 teams have been playing. It's very likely that Mock-it is probably going to walk away with this round, putting us in a never-ending tussle back and forth forever again. But For Cloud9, you got to imagine it's going to be a similar setup to Mock-it. They're going to bring the Clash with them. They're probably going to have a huge investment up top. When Mock-it was trying to defend up top last time around, if you remember, it was Hungry who got hurt very early on and had to drop, gave up a lot of control on the map in mere seconds because of the way that Cloud9 pushed. How is that difference? How is there going to be a difference between these two teams? Because I'm assuming Cloud9 will probably stick up top a little bit longer than we saw Mock-it before falling back.
Yeah, like I talked about on, I believe it was Oregon, or maybe even way back on Consulate. It's been a pretty long matchup, but a very close matchup. C9, typically a team that will stand and fight. You know, we saw Mock-it employing, at least on Consulate, a more reserved play style, wanting to fall back and keep their lives intact for as long as possible, instead of trying to inflict as much damage as possible. The armory wall going to get breached open immediately by enemy, and he's going to fall back outside. He's going to get spotted by the Clash of Foxe. He's going to continue to run out. He's got a friend with him in Mark. And they're going back and forth, and enemy's going to peel back as fast as humanly possible. Does not want to deal with the Clash or Jaeger of Mark. That's been doing a lot of damage. Laxing with an impact nade through passport check. Unfortunate timing for Sir Boss to hop on that drone as he's stuck in an animation. Laxing grabs a second one on a Panics and vaulting back into the small office of Customs. Mock-it single pushing and falling like dominoes.
And now enemy inside of CCTV sees the Clash push up towards him. We know that Mark was behind him, but that might not be information that has been afforded to the Thermite. Now Hungry's going to try to take care of it, and there you go. Perfect opportunity as Clash's shield exposes her for just a second, as that concussive blast will make her a bit vulnerable, but Hungry is not quick enough on the draw. It doesn't even look like Foxe took a single tick of damage there. So some utility burned. Enemy also has been downed. Either that or very, very low on HP. It does look like he has just a tiny bit, and there he goes. He's gonna go for it down finally. And who's gonna have to pick him up? Well, it's gonna have to be Hungry, because Revan tries to take an engagement far removed from the rest of his team, and he's gonna lose that. Looking up through the floor, just over top of ventilation, he's gonna lose out. So right now, Cloud9 looking to lock this out and move us to match point. This has been a unfortunate run here for Mock-it, and look at that, Laxing doing an extraordinary amount of work. Just waiting to see what he's gonna be able to get here, and finishes it off with the SMG-12, a nice 4K for Laxing, and that's match point in favor of Cloud9, who have been getting better and better here on Border so far.
And their expressions immediately went jubilant after that. I mean, we've seen a very reserved and stoic face C9 so far.
Jubilation, Robert.
Yes.
It's jubilation.
Very stoic C9.
I like stoic.
Early
They have
on.
been very,
Yes.
a lot of these teams have been stoic. There hasn't been a lot of animation from a lot of these teams, right? I think that speaks to the calmness and that they keep under pressure, and that's important. You get these teams that are very animated, they get a round victory, and there's a certain woo that I can think that gets applied to situations when people get particularly excited to celebrate. So
I wonder who that could be.
I wonder who that could be. Mock-it, though, letting it slip away. For a while there, it looked like, especially through the cut and thrust of Consulate, then heading into Oregon, certainly looked like it was going to be Mock-it's to lose here. And now we have Cloud9 looking to take maps 2 and possibly 3, which I mentioned with Emzo earlier on in Paris. All but one team that won map 1 also won the series. We're about to see that break in only our second matchup so far, if Cloud9 wins. Now, mind you, there's still a lot left to play.
Yeah.
But Cloud9 just has, for the last 2 rounds, have looked indomitable. And even with their mistake that they made, almost were able to steal a round away from Mock-it. So, here we go. Match point.
Match point, series point, winner's bracket extension point, if you will go so far. And currently it all rests on the customs and supply room hold for Cloud9 to try and lock this out. And this would be the widest margin of victory on a map in this series if it does go 6-3, as it's been a 6-4 and a 7-5. Respectively earlier on. And Foxe, okay, I thought he was going to go for the run out and peek, but he's just going to deploy some barbed wire outside of the CCTV window, and now rip open some kill holes into the supply room window. Probably the most ill-advised plant spot, but if it's not covered properly, a pretty effective one nonetheless.
Yeah. You need to have that upstairs coverage, which is exactly what we're going to see here. So good to finally see Customs emerge. That means that we'll have seen every single site. We saw the exact same thing on Oregon. Every site on Oregon got played, every site on Border got played. If Consulate hadn't had a 4th site at it, we would say every single site on Consulate also got played, but we didn't see the Teller servers at all. Enemy's just gonna immediately take the wall into Customs, and that's a freebie, as there's gonna be nobody to try and stop it. It's going to give them a line of sight right through Customs in towards the detention doorway, and it's pretty early to be able to do that, but I mean, you take a minute. There's what you have.
I'm surprised by the lack of top clear coming out from Mock-it. And granted, like you said, it's only been a minute. They still have plenty of time to clear out CCTV, but they've ripped open both of detention wall and passport check wall. It's good opportunities to have to be able to rotate and change your push depending on what you see, but you really do have to clear out this top control because all these kill holes in the floor that Foxay has made with a seemingly endless magazine on that LMG is going to be Panics taking the first engagement outside the CCTV door. Receiving a lot of fire from Retro on that UMP playing inside of Sand. Actually, no, he's top metal. He's got a long angle with that holographic. Flashbangs being launched into the back of sight. Foxay still covering those kill holes from above. Mark looking like he wants to get a little aggressive on the peak, but C9 playing it smart. They're whittling down the time that Mock-it have at their disposal, and the deeper we go in this round in a 5v5, the more likely it comes out in Cloud9's favor.
And well, time right now on the side of the defenders is they just need to simply hold on. But as you said, who's going to be able to take this one? Only one Toxic Babe left. His enemy is just crawling in. I don't know if he's known at all. He's going to go for a plant, but there's a smoke on the other side of the wall. Is Goddess going to be able to get out? No, perfectly timed as Sir Boss as the cross. Diffuser will go down, and Revan will add to that. Foxay gets the first kill for C9, but the 2 for Mock-it will still give them an advantage. Also, they have the Diffuser, so it means that C9 will have to not just go frag chasing, but also maybe be able to break up that Diffuser at the same time. They have very minimal coverage, and it does appear that they are largely information-starved. Foxay will pick up his second kill, though, to equalize. Retro sees another on a down. Enemy will pick up one. 2v2 and tense moments. Diffuser will hit just under the halfway mark. Enemy is there to lock it down. Retro, last man standing. He's got 2 sights and will have to go for the quite noisy defuse, but running at a time. They're just going to circle and waste time, and that'll be it. The clock will strike, and even if Retro is able to get the 2 kills he needs, Hungry with the cleanup, and that was Mock-it winning on time. Impactless frags for Retro, and Mock-it one step closer to sending us to overtime.
One round away from pushing it once again. Talked about the jubilation from the Cloud9. It looks like this is just more a sigh of relief from Mock-it. Seemingly just having some kind of foundation, some kind of grasp of success here, as it looked like they were starting to spiral a little bit. Although Cloud9, having run the gauntlet on objectives to defend, are now able to go back upstairs to Armory Lockers, a defense that was won out pretty much by the solo plays of Mark and Laxing the last time around.
Yeah, especially with the coordination that we've had on the roamers so far. Laxing in particular, that extraordinary 4K that we saw was a pretty crucial moment for his team when he was able to get those first 2 kills. And then the rest of Mock-it just fed themselves into him with no real regard for their life or the rest of the team. We'll see what the coordination is going to happen, because also you got to give a lot of credit to the way that Foxay and Mark have been playing together, because Foxay's been providing endless amounts of information, and the person who's been benefiting from that the most has been Mark. He's been the one acting upon the calls from Pulse, the calls from Valkyrie, the calls from the drones. So good, I guess, relationship there between the 2 of them in order to get the most value out of these information gathering operators that we see Foxay playing. For Mock-it, Sir Boss still very quiet on the team, and Panics, who also is known to be a proficient fragger, also lagging behind a little bit. But the one good thing for Mock-it is that with as close as this has been, you've added 2 new people to your team. You haven't had a lot of period to adjust, and yet still you're managing to go toe-to-toe with the team that has had a settled roster for a couple months now. Likely understand the maps, might not have the best grasp of the meta due to the changes to the sidearms, due to the fact that Clash and Maverick have been brought in, but this still, even in defeat, if Mock-it was to go down here, there's a lot of good signs for them to look at, and definitely, in my opinion, playing better than we've seen out of Mock-it for the last couple months, too, even if this is not exactly the result they wanted. We got 2 minutes and 45 seconds to determine if Cloud9 advances or if we go into overtime and see 2 more rounds at minimum.
So, enemy outside of the front door, and Revan looking like he wants to take CCTV and break room relatively quickly. Instead, he's going to rotate over. 2 enemies going to repel in outside, and it's the same thing we saw from Mock-it the last time around they attacked this objective, and it's again, it's going to be hopefully Revan on the Twitch. I like this swap up, being able to take down both Valkyrie cameras, which he's on the hunt for currently. And he'll spot out at the break room door and dispatch it rather simply, but also the ADSs, the crucial life-saving devices that Mark was utilizing behind half wall. This time he's playing metal half wall instead of the bunker. And Foxay pressed right up against the archives wall.
Bomb located by attackers.
Parallel to the window, waiting for anyone. It looks like it would have been Hungry if he stuck, but he's gonna go on a long rotation around, go for a jog and join up as enemy breaches open the armory wall. Mock is starting to collapse for this A push once again. Mark situating himself on that locker right beside A-bomb. I mean, he can peek out and continue to have those solo plays, and the ADS is attempting to be cleared now. He tries to peek out, gets disoriented just in time by Hungry, and the collapse is gonna have to come a lot more heavy from Mock-it if they want to secure this round.
Mock-it is very linear right now, all just squared up on that armory wall. Surprised that they're not going to try to have anybody to really flank or put a focus on the rest of Cloud9, because at the moment you've got Mark as the sole man for Cloud9, he's wasted 2 flashes, he's wasted 3 concussive blasts from Zofia, he's still hanging on, he's taken no damage, most incredibly. And he's in a position now where he's basically baiting people in because Goddess is playing this angle in small office with the Alda, where she can get a pretty easy kill if somebody tries to push Mark. There's the asphyxiating bolts, but they both miss! So Mark is still alive. Finally, he pops up and will die for the team as Panix gets the kill, but Goddess still here. Whether she's been discovered or not, this could be absolutely pivotal for Cloud9 if Mock-it doesn't know. And as you can see on Mock-it's side of thing, a lot of hurt bodies that are only a shot or 2 away from death.
It's going to be up to Goddess to line them all up and knock them all down. She's positioned and looking over towards the locker sandwich window, but now turns her attention back to the wall. Smoke canisters as enemy tries to press in. Takes a few hit points of damage and will back on out, and this could be it to close it out, but Hungry gonna try and keep Mock-it alive. Looking through the floor though, Laxing below inside of ventilation, but Goddess fails to cut them down with the LMG. It's gonna be up to Laxing from below with those kill holds. One has been down by the smoke canisters. That's Revan, but Surboss through the smoke, finally showing up at the perfect time to drop Retro. Laxing alone downstairs against 4 if Revan can be revived, and this is an insurmountable task, and it looks like we're heading back to overtime unless Laxing can pull off one of the clutches, best clutches we've seen in a very long time. Able to take down Hungry, gets down and will revive himself, but Panix will fill right back in with the para from inside CCTV, apparently, just banging through the wall. We're headed to overtime. I think this, I don't know, the chat statisticians out there will definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the longest best-of-3 series we've had in the new format of 5-5.
There were some pretty long ones in Paris, I remember that much. Especially in the group stages, if I recall. But yeah, this one's really gone the distance. Rogo Bay was only 2 maps, but they needed
7-6, 7-6.
Yeah, they needed, it was 7-6, 7-6. So they needed the whole thing. But yeah, there's nothing here, at least in my book of matches that I've casted, where it has gone quite this long. This is a marathon of a match between these 2 teams, and at least it's been providing for pretty exciting back and forth because they can never really escape each other. It doesn't really matter how much of a lead, it's far from over. It did look like Cloud9 was ramping up.
Yeah.
And over those 2 rounds in particular, where they pushed a match point, they had a commanding understanding of the way that Mock-it was playing, and they were just beating them every single time, where Mock-it usually excels. That time in particular, Hungry was the lone man who didn't appear to be lined up on that armory wall. He dispatched Foxay, and then all of C9 looked like they rotated to try and take care of a possible push from Hungry, who I'm assuming was probably pushing in through Fountain. They found out that Goddess was in small office and took care of her really fast, and Laxing down from below looked like he could have been the difference maker, but what ended up happening was they evaded him, got the kills on site, and forced him to fight for a retake. And not that Laxing isn't a good enough player to possibly get a retake, but a 1v4 as a doc,
10 seconds left.
that's difficult to do, especially with diffuser down. Cloud9 will have to defend twice by virtue of that coin flip that always gets talked about, and Goddess will use 5 bullets to get a hatch, just trying to be a bit too far away. And we'll see what Mock-it is going to be able to accomplish here. Now, this is a very similar lineup to what we saw from Mock-it. They've subbed out the Capital for a Thatcher in this case, but everybody else looks to be about the same. Instead of attacking Armory up top, though, their focus will be on Ventilation Workshop.
It's like once again, and Mock-it have done this multiple times now, where they go for this full rotation outside, just checking windows, and enemy is this Breacher is going to be heading over to Archive's window out on ventilation currently, or AC, sorry. Hungry going to repel the locker sandwich window in tandem. They're going to spot the clash on the drone, and she appears to be solo. Obviously, through the overlay, we can see that she has help in Mark. Now coming over and can get spotted on the drone as well. Busting open the window and spraying in. There's Hungry taking down Mark. Great drone placement and intel coordination. Now it's the clash alone. Foxay scrambling, seemingly unsure of where to look and where to present himself and push. And there's no help now. There's no rotation coming from C9 to come help Foxay. He's almost dead in the water here.
The clash by themselves is not obviously ideal. Very similar like a Montaigne by themselves. You don't usually want to put a fully extended shield that really has minimal ways of fighting back, but Foxay has been able to get back to site. So he will have the rest of his teammates surrounding him on the main floor, but if he could possibly get an assistant, he could work his way back up top and kill some time. Tons of drones still left from Mock-it as well. You saw them doing some heavy drone work, but they also managed to, as you mentioned, do some excellent drone placement. That's just good usage of the ability to gather that information. Just Sir Boss missing the rotate on the vigil of Laxing inside a bathroom, and Laxing will go back in as Panics is there. So you've got two bodies now that can possibly double up. Another drone is also there to give information for Panics as the sledge looks towards the bathroom. And look at this. You've got three bodies now trying to take care of Laxing. But where is he? That site of Sir Boss is just a bit too close for comfort, and it looks like Laxing will be able to get away scot-free.
They surrender to the bathroom control and looking for the smoke now is Sir Boss. He's trying to get in behind the server rack, spraying through, opening up an opening for him to look through. Thermite charge coming out on that bathroom hallway wall as well. Revan's gonna back out ASAP and waiting for a drop. Still has hatch control here from Hungry on that Sophia. More sprays from the glass as Sir Boss laying prone on the ground, trying to give himself at least a half second of advantage in an engagement as soon as someone turns that corner. Frag grenades, flash grenades, all being launched in. Hungry's gonna secure a kill from above, but so will Laxing. As he's able to drop it at Tellers. This diffuser lost. Goddess claims another victim as Sir Boss will fall. Foxay with another one. They're all dropping like flies. Mock-it now gonna drop into the site. That's Hungry with the Sophia and just barely able to control that recoil. It's all up to Revan now being spotted out by the clash. Constantly being harassed, nowhere to go, pulling out the pistol. Revan with a great turn and shoot, but there is no time remaining, no diffuser in hand. Cloud9 on the retake and a beautiful flank by Laxing will put them once again match point and series point.
And you saw that SMG-12 just going absolutely haywire as you can't control it really at all. Almost deprived of what should have been an easy kill with basically any other gun in the game except for maybe the Bearing 9. Yikes. But the victim of time more than anything. Mock-it had to readjust, spend an inordinate amount of time trying to take hold of bathroom, which is where Laxing was playing. Beautiful job just to kill down that clock and consistently rotate as Cloud9 did. Force Mock-it to try to commit to one avenue in which you were prepared for. Goddess got a kill. As you said, the dominoes start to fall, and then you're left with just Revan trying to engage a clash, plus others. Usually not going to work out in their favor.
It was a great flank by Laxing, though, to come down through Tellers and just no one covering East Stairs. Everyone was alive on Mock-it, so no one's watching specifically a flank drone. He's a vigil as well, so he can evade the drones for the most part at 12 seconds at a time. I'm really surprised that he was afforded the ability to go for a full rotate, because I believe he started out in customs and then went up metal stairs, and you had the attacker, I believe, of Hungry, the Zofia, playing above the workshop hatch, so just feet away is where Laxing came for the rotate up, completely avoided her and went for the flank down to the Teller's hatch. It was a beautiful play by him and 15 frags on the map for him. I mean, Laxing has been showing out on all three maps, and it's no surprise. He's a phenomenal fragging force. That's a lot of Fs, a lot of alliteration, but...
good alliteration.
Yep.
Pretty solid alliteration.
Cloud9 bringing almost the same setups. Now we've got Foxay on the IQ and Retro on the Thatcher. So we only have one set of nades. Laxing keeping the Buck, Mark keeping the Sophia, and Goddess keeping the Thermite. A little bit of a swap up here for Cloud9 as they face pretty much the same lineup they've gone up against as Mock-it has continued to defend Armory Lockers pretty consistently.
Yeah, and I'm... let's look here at Mock-it's defensive armory. Lost the first time, won the second time. The first time was an absolute romp, if I recall correctly, from Cloud9.
I believe so, yeah.
And the second time around was a pretty good hold from Mock-it. Cloud9 looked really lost, if I recall as well. So, which bag are you gonna get? Because you got two very very strong results that are very opposite of each other. But we head into what could be our final round here. I would suggest, just based upon history alone, probably not going to be our final round because that's just the way things go. But only 4 more kills to go for Cloud9 as Foxe starts things off with the Doc of enemy. The Doc has been a nuisance before, but will no longer be much of a hassle, as that's going to help C9 be able to push onto the site. Panic's playing in Fountain has been the pretty typical spot for him. Last time he was aided by the Clash of Hungry, but it doesn't look like he's going to have the Clash to escort that time around. As if they can burn those ADSs, which, there we go, an EMP's gonna go down. Not gonna really allow an opportunity for the Jaeger to bandit juggle, and boom, there goes Panics. Cloud9 is poised to be able to take this, but there you go, there's the ADS this time. Possibly should have saved an EMP. Hungry getting aggressive towards Fountain, looks staring right at Laxing. You'll hear an exothermic charge go off as well, and some utility being burned by the Sophia mark.
Goddess able to open up the Archives wall, the 2-man advantage here, pressing out Goddess with a great reactionary shot onto Sir Boss, a man who has just not had it this game. Goddess also going to drop Revan. It's off to the Clash of Hungary, able to drop down Goddess with Diffuser, spraying towards Radio Desk. No ammo left. He's going to have to go for a reload. He has multiple attackers bearing down on him. He's able to successfully almost get the reload, but Foxe will close it out. And Cloud9